Hi everyone! So today I thought I would try my hand at making some Mexican pumpkin candy. This is also known as Dulce de Calabaza. I'm really bad at Spanish, I'm sorry. This recipe was suggested to me by a Redditor, and it fits pretty well with the season. This candy is kind of a fruit candy, and it has a really tough exterior and a very soft, meaty inside. It's sweet and spicy, and really kind of reminds me of a mini pumpkin pie bite. I really enjoyed making this, and like all great Mexican recipes, it will take some time. But in the end, worth it. So the first thing we need to actually do is just cut up some pumpkin. A quick note on pumpkins, you should use a pie pumpkin or something with a similar thickness to it. I wouldn't try using the jack-o'-lantern style pumpkins, they're just too thin and they don't taste very good. So for me, I have this pumpkin here, and I'm going to cut it in half. I'll pull it apart and kind of break this into smaller quarters that I can work with. I pulled out the seeds and stringy bits with a spoon, and for sure this is the least fun part of dealing with pumpkins in general. And then I began cutting the skin off the pumpkins and chopping them into more manageable sized pieces. So I kind of went overboard and cut more pumpkin than I need for this recipe. For this recipe, we only need 1 kilogram or about 2.2 pounds of pumpkin. And the rest I'm going to use for another recipe. So once we've measured out our kilogram of pumpkin, we can begin cutting the pumpkin into candy-sized pieces. Now this is completely up to you about how big you want it, but I kind of was aiming for a piece that could be eaten within 2 bites. So just chop up your pumpkin into the pieces that you want, and then we can move on to the next step. So one thing that actually gives this candy its unique texture is actually an alkaline solution. It's the same thing that I used for the nixtamalization video. So what we're going to do is we need to prepare an alkaline bath for the pumpkin to soak in. And this step is completely optional, so if you don't mind having a softer texture candy, you can skip this step and just go on to the cooking step, which I'll mention in a second. But if you do decide to use the alkaline bath, to prepare the bath, we just need 20 grams of cal, also known as pickling lime, also known as calcium oxide, and pour this into about 1 liter of water. So this is the same stuff that I used in the nixtamalization video, so the same warnings apply. Try to use a container that's non-reactive, such as enameled metal or glass, avoiding things like aluminum. Try not to touch the powder itself because it's caustic a little bit. And like I said, we need 20 grams into about 1 liter of water, give it a good mix, and then we can add our pumpkin pieces in. And once they're in, we're just going to let this sit for anywhere from 5 hours up to 1 day. And this will give time for the alkaline solution to react with the pumpkin skin and giving us that tougher texture that I mentioned. So I let mine soak for about 8 hours, and while we're waiting, this will be a good time to subscribe if you haven't. Okay, so 8 hours later, came back, and the pieces look just like this. And I know it doesn't look different, but it really is. You want to give this a good thorough washing and making sure to get all of the cal mixture and alkaline solution off of each piece. Now we're ready to make the candy part. In a pot, add 1 liter of water, 1 kilogram or about 2 pounds of sugar, which I know sounds like a lot, but not all of it will end up in the final product. And lastly, 2 cinnamon sticks. The idea here is that we want to cook the pumpkin and allow the sugar to penetrate into the pumpkin. We can go ahead and add our pumpkin in at this point, and then I quickly realized that this pot was way too small, so I had to switch to a different pot. Now back again with the bigger pot. From here, it's super easy. So we're going to turn up the heat, wait a little bit until it starts simmering like this, and let the sugar mixture work its magic. So I let this simmer for about 1.5 hours, and this will soften the pumpkin and make your house smell like fall. You can do other things while this gently simmers, and it doesn't hurt to let it go for a while if you want, so maybe take a bath or read a book. You can come back 1 hour, 2 hours later, it doesn't really matter. As I said, I came back 1.5 hours later, and it looked like this, which is exactly what we want. It's soft and cooked, but it kind of retained its harder outside skin. Now, at this point, all we need to do is turn off the heat and let it sit for a few hours. So I let mine sit overnight, and this will allow the pumpkin to kind of crystallize and turn into a nice candy. Now you could eat this as is, but to me letting it sit gave the outside a little bit of a harder exterior, adding to that nice crunch. I came back to it the next morning, and it's done. Just pull out the pieces and drain as much syrup off as you can. Just kind of dry them off if you want to. By the way, you can reduce the leftover pancake syrup to make some delicious diabetes-inducing sauce for French toast or pancakes. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching. Bye!